Hey everyone, I'm your astrologer, Wonder Girl, taking you to new heights. This is your forecast for the full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn happening on July 16th, 2019 at 5:38 p.m. Eastern time or 2:38 p.m. Pacific time. Now, what is this full moon lunar eclipse all about? Well, in my opinion, it's all about kicking karma, lots of karma, been building up for years. It's also about moving the immovable, doing the impossible, overcoming things in your life that you never thought you could ever overcome. And all of a sudden, it seems more real, like it's something you can do. Doesn't mean it's gonna happen right away, exactly this month, even though I think you're gonna sense a big opening, but that it will, especially with this being a lunar eclipse, I believe happen in the next 6 months, because eclipses do last, you know, about a 6 months period for these things to occur and complete. So that is what we're going to talk about today. If you like this video and want to get astrological inspiration from me every day about what's going on in the astrology, as well as every week, weekly horoscopes in addition to daily horoscopes, and special reports on major alignments that go on, especially retrogrades, planets changing signs, then please check me out on my website. You can subscribe to my website. It's www.wondergirlastrology.com, where you can find that. I also do have my July 2019 monthly forecast up as well. I particularly like this one. I thought it was very, very thorough if you want to purchase that. I know we're halfway through the month, but it still could be useful for those of you who got some big things going on, especially on a month like this where we've got 2 eclipses which are very, very major. So check those out on my website. Now, for your horoscope, what I always like to do first is place where this full moon lunar eclipse is on the chart. Here it is. I'm going to start with the moon in 24 degrees Capricorn here opposite the sun. That's what makes a full moon a full moon. Now, what makes this an eclipse is the fact that the moon here is very, very close to the south node, and of course that means the sun's very close to the north node as well. So that's how we see this full moon lunar eclipse. Now, what are full moons? Full moons, in my opinion, are endings. We're ending something. If we're not ending something, then it can be completing something, stepping into something we've been working on for quite some time. What is it that we're ending or completing? Well, with the moon being in Capricorn, it would be Capricorn-like things. What does Capricorn rule? Our career, our reputation, our social standing. If we don't want to think in that practical, specific of terms, Capricorn also does have to do with your life direction in some way. So my opinion here is that we are stepping into a life direction that we've been working on for quite some time, trying to put our life in some place. We could be stepping into that. If we're not stepping into that, then what we may be doing is ending, and this is probably the interpretation that I think would be the most accurate, ending a life direction that is no longer working for us. Maybe it was working for us at one time, but currently is no longer what we need in order to move forward. And we're ending this current life direction that we've built up as a huge structure in our lives, so that we can, with the north node especially, and with the sun here in Cancer, do more of what is emotionally and personally meaningful for us, and so that we can go all in on that and really, really do what our heart and soul desires, wants, and loves. With this full moon lunar eclipse here conjunct Saturn and Pluto, very, very close, this whole mess going on in Capricorn, I feel like we've been feeling stuck for a long time. We've been feeling restricted by our life direction, by what our life has been doing, by the things that we've been building, that we created with our own hands, or maybe we're forced to create by outside circumstances. You know, I feel like we've been feeling stuck. We've been feeling challenged. We've been feeling restricted by our life. Our life is not what we want. Maybe it was at one time, but maybe it took a weird direction and it got us in a weird place. And I think we're done with it. We're done with it. We're ready to finally change these things that have been hard for us and to move forward. Okay, the reason why I say we're moving the immovable is because we do have Saturn and Pluto here, and Saturn and Pluto do not play around. They pack a big punch. So I think the things that we're trying to change in our life, big things in our life, the big structures, traditions, life directions, I think they are things we've been trying to kick that have been very, very hard and been very, very frustrating for us and been very, very, very upsetting. And with this moon on Saturn and Pluto, these two bad boys that have been facing us with one problem after the other, one set of restrictions after the other, one set of challenges, this moon here on Saturn and Pluto is saying no more, no more. I will not tolerate living a life anymore that does not resonate with me. It has to be something different. It has to be something better. Now this full moon, because it is conjunct Saturn and Pluto, can inflame these old situations from the past, old karma. Also, Saturn and Pluto to me is the signature of trauma and abuse. So it can also inflame these old situations where you felt were very karmically entangled, where you felt there was a lot of trauma, a lot of abuse, can inflame those and make them worse, but can inflame them and make them worse so that you can finally, once and for all, break through these things more permanently and come out on the other side feeling better, feeling more healed. Feeling not more healed, feeling completely healed and feeling alive once again, all right? So that I think is what is going on here and how to do that. Okay, I think what you're going to have to do, especially with this big opposition going on between Saturn, Pluto, the sun, even the moon, in order to overcome these things that have been hard, even if they first get inflamed and thrown back at you, you're going to have to make choices. To me, oppositions always indicate choices. What are you having to make choices between? Your old life that is not working for you, an old life direction, choices between following the rules, taking on the responsibility, doing what needs to be done, and choices between that and between doing what your heart and soul says, what your heart wants to come alive again, to feel good about life, to create more meaning, so that you can feel more safe and free to do the things that you're feeling. So I think that's what's going on, and you have to choose to no longer tolerate things in your life that you do not like, that you do not want, that have no meaning for you, that are hard, that are tough, and that put you in situations that you don't want to be in. You have to constantly choose, even if it's hard to break these cycles, even if they're coming back to pull you into the drama, even if they're coming back to pull you into the drama of the past, you have to consciously choose to say, that does not honor my spirit and soul, that does not make me feel good, that is not what I need in order to be alive, to bring my soul back to life. And you need to choose more of the things that do, okay? And that's going to be the key. And if you can not be afraid to revisit old things here and to choose new things that really resonate with you, then I do believe with this full moon, lunar eclipse being in a sextile over here to Neptune and Pisces, that it's really going to help you start to feel like you're overcoming the past, you're honoring your soul. It's going to help you start to feel like you're coming back to life, you're bringing more peace to yourself in ways that you have not experienced in years. It's going to help you to start to feel whole again, an inner sense of wholeness. Again, if not this month, then I definitely believe by 6 months from now, around December, when we get the next set of eclipses in Cancer and Capricorn, okay? So that to me is what I see going on there. Changing our life direction to end a hard time so that we can do more of what our soul is really telling us. I think another thing, what's been going on here with Capricorn, I do believe, I feel like what's going on in our life, you know, the thing about Capricorn is that it's really, really good at building a lot of structures in life and building a lot of traditions. And structures and traditions are useful in a lot of ways to get things done, to be successful, to make things happen. But sometimes structures in our life aren't useful for us to actually feel comfortable in and feel loved. And so I think that's what's been going on, is that we're starting to realize, just to kind of give you a little bit more of a different way of looking at some of these things that I'm talking about. I think what's been going on for a very long time in the past is that we've been building these structures that we don't feel at home in, that we don't feel like are truly meant for us. And that we've realized, or started to realize over the course really the past year or two, are hollow. And that's kind of how I see this, is that we're living now a shell of a life. We've created a life the past few years that don't really resonate with us anymore. And we're having to focus more on the heart. And that's Capricorn to me. If you put a Capricorn in charge, everything's going to get done. And it's going to get done well, and it's going to be very, very successful. But sometimes it's going to be successful at the expense of people's feelings, at the expense of people's emotions, at the expense of what's really going on inside. And with this being a lunar eclipse, an ending in Capricorn and a beginning in Cancer, we had the solar eclipse that came first 2 weeks ago. It's saying, no more, I cannot live a life that's hollow. I cannot go along with the same thing that I've been going along with just because it looks good from the outside. Just because it has the appearance of being attractive, just because it has the appearance of being successful, you know? Capricorn can get obsessed with the success. How does it look? Does it look like I have a lot of social status? You know, who cares about what's actually going on inside me? But as long as it looks good on the outside and everything's getting taken care of, then we'll be fine. And I think what we're doing is we're taking a stand at this full moon lunar eclipse against the things in our life that are hollow, that have no real meaning, that have no real substance, that just look good on the outside, so that we can start to create things that may not look pretty on the outside, but that really do mean a lot to us. It makes me think a lot with this alignment of the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz. The Tin Man, what was he looking for? He was looking for a heart, because we didn't really have anything inside him. There was nothing inside. And I feel like the past, I mean, it could be the past 9 years of our life, we've created over the past 9 years, which was the last time when the North Node was in Capricorn, the nodes are in the opposite signs. I feel like since these past 9 years, we've been building up this like tin contraption in our life that's kind of functional in some way, that can protect us at times from some of the harsher aspects of life, but that really doesn't have anything to it. And we're finally rejecting all of that and moving towards things that do have meaning and that we do like, you know. And I feel like there's all of us the past few months and years have come to realize in some way, shape, or form, there's something in my life that's missing. There's something that's missing. You know, I don't feel like I'm at home in my life. I don't feel like I'm living my life. I don't feel I'm comfortable in my life. And I have to figure out how to do that. And that's what we're doing at this full moon lunar eclipse. We're trying to figure out how we can retrieve and recover the part of our life that's been missing, and so that we can be and do more of that and live that. Okay. You know, and that's why I feel like, especially with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, the past few months may have been a little bit tumultuous for some of us, because we realized our life doesn't have meaning and we have to fix it. And sometimes it's hard to fix these long-standing things, you know, but that's what we're doing. You know, it's like Capricorn can have the fancy house, can have all the, you know, all this nice food, the dinner on the table, but Cancer makes the house a home. Cancer brings the family of which to have dinner with, so that you're not having dinner alone. So that's the kind of thing. It's like we've built the house, you know? It's like we've been building all these things up for years. I think one of the symbols, Sabian symbols for an important degree in Capricorn near this eclipse, but not the ones exactly of the eclipse, was like a stately manor that's in a ruined condition. And that's the way our life is. We built these things up for the past 9 years. For whatever reason, we felt we needed to build them up. And they look pretty, but there's nothing inside. And now we need to figure out how can we make these structures feel like home, or tear the structures down to create something else that is home, where there's family there, and where there's heart, and where there's love. That needs to occur. With Mercury here at the 1st degree of Leo, Leo also has a lot to do with love, rules your heart. I think there are a lot of conversations here, not only about how we can change these long-standing structures in our life finally so that we can feel better, but I think we're also having a lot of conversations about what we really need to be happy and what our heart and soul is really saying, so that we can really understand that, figure out what that is, and make that more concrete so that we can start to move forward on that. I also think not only are we going to have to make choices about ourselves and who we are and what we want as we speak our truth about what's in our hearts, but I also think relationships are going to be important with this as well. With Venus, now I've gotten my chart all messy, but with Venus and Cancer also coming into an opposition with Saturn, Pluto, and this full moon, I feel we're also going to have to make choices about our relationships as well. Now that we're realizing that our life doesn't have meaning or is missing something, and we're trying to find out and what that is and get and kind of fill that hole in some sense. Not only are we going to have to make choices to do that, and not only are we going to have to change as individuals so that we can move forward in a way that we need, but we're also going to have to make choices about our relationships, choices about our money, so that we can change those things permanently as well in more positive ways that can honor what our heart and soul is saying. Okay, as a result of these choices that we're making to change our life and to rearrange not only our own lives, but our relationships and money in service of what we need to feel happy, to feel again, to love life, to bring our souls back to life here. With Mars in a square to Uranus, people could be doing things suddenly or unexpectedly in order to break these long-standing traditions that aren't working in order to move forward. Even though I think these unexpected events that people do and say could be very good to break free from some of this stuff, it could trigger again with Mars and a trine to Chiron some old fears, some old wounds, and some old insecurities. Could put them again back in your face so that you can figure out how to overcome that. With Saturn and Pluto being involved, Saturn and Pluto again slows things down. So even if we are, again, breaking finally through these things that we never thought we could break through in order to move forward, feeling better about our life, again, we need to be serious, and it could take some discipline, some diligence, and some time in order to bring it all together. Okay, so maybe that's what I'll leave you with there. That was a lot of the aspects. What I'll just talk about next before we go are the inside degrees for and the Sabian symbols for the full moon lunar eclipse. The one I loved the best, I was like almost in tears when I was reading this one, is the inside degrees for 24 degrees Capricorn, which is where this full moon lunar eclipse is. Here, I'll erase the chart. Sorry I made that so messy. But we've got 24 degrees. Here's the moon, 24 Cap, and 24 Cancer. The meaning of 24 degrees Capricorn, in the inside degrees, it says a secret assignment withheld even from your conscious self. The enigma of destiny, secret instruction written on your innermost being, and you know them implicitly. This is what I feel like. I feel like we've gone through, to be honest, a really hard time, especially, well, the past 9 years of our lives, which was when the North Node was in Capricorn and the South Node was in Cancer, and maybe even the past 35 years, which was the last time the Saturn-Pluto conjunction came exact. I feel like we've been going through a real hard time. I mean, Capricorn is the sign of winter in Western astrology. It is the sign of like rations being low and there not being that much around to survive off of, which is why Capricorns have to work hard and feel this desire. I gotta work hard, I gotta take, because I know winter's here and there's not the stuff that I need to survive, so I gotta work hard to make sure that I am protected, that I have the things that I need. I can't think about feelings, I have to survive. So I feel like there's been a lot of us for the past 9, maybe even 35 years that have been just trying to survive, just trying to get by. And I think it's been very confusing for a lot of us of like, why is my life so hard, and what did I do to deserve this, and why did all of this trauma, abuse, or hard situations happen to me? What does it all mean? And I loved this inside degree for 24 degrees Capricorn because it makes me believe all of that happened for, you know, and this may be a hard thing to say, you know, man, of course, depending on your circumstance, but I like this inside degree because it makes me think all of that happened for a reason. It was a secret assignment. And the reason for that secret assignment was withheld even from your own self. Maybe you chose it. Maybe you unconsciously chose it without knowing it. And you chose it for a reason, but you hid the reason from yourself at the beginning of all of this. You hid the reason for the conflict, for the hardship from yourself 9 years, 35 years, or whatever, you know, period in between that a lot of this stuff may have started. And now all of a sudden at this full moon lunar eclipse in the next 6 months, you're starting to understand what the secret assignment was all about. The secret private operation that you were in on, that you have been. You're starting to understand what it was about. You know, the Sabian, sorry, it's the inside degrees. They're two different things. The inside degrees for this says it was custom designed by destiny. Your struggle was tailor-made for you for your growth. And it's been so hard to understand why did I do to deserve this? You chose this, but the meaning was hidden from you. You hid it from yourself so that you could face these things. And now this full moon is saying, now I'm going to give you the answers. And the reason why you were doing this, now the Sabian symbol for 24 degrees Capricorn, is you were doing it for a higher good. You were doing it to totally commit to a transcendent goal. To accomplish something greater than yourself. And if you knew where you were going to get, and if you were honest with yourself, if you didn't lie, I don't want to say you lied to yourself, but if you didn't pretend, or if you didn't play that trick on yourself, then you never would have gone through this struggle, and you never would have gotten the transcendent goal, the higher good. You never would have gotten to the other side. You never would have, I think another part of the Sabian symbol, been secure in whatever happened or will happen. You wouldn't have learned how to connect your struggles with a higher purpose and how to find your sense of security in yourself instead of in other people. So I think there's a lot of enlightenment coming at this full moon where we're realizing, oh yeah, that was really hard for me the past few years. And this is why. This is the meaning that it had. And I couldn't see it at the time, because if I did see it at the time, I wouldn't have gone through with this. I wouldn't have chosen this. Who would have chosen this hardship? But now that I've gone through it, and now that I've experienced these things that I was very confused about, now I know what it all means. And there are a lot of things with this Cancer. I like sometimes to look at the degree of the sun as well, because the sun to me is what we need to focus on, what's starting, what's the good stuff, and the moon and the full moon is what's ending and what we need to let go of. And a lot of the degrees here for the sun in this spot of Cancer do have a lot to do with gifts and endowment. It's saying, because you have struggled, because you've dealt with that hardship, because you did this thing that you didn't want to do, even if it feels empty now, even if it feels meaningless, even if it feels hollow, even if something's missing that's not yet complete, all of that hardship, you're going to get a gift. You're going to get a great gift from doing that. If you can bring it all together, if you can go to the very end of this hardship and change it and fix it and choose otherwise, you're going to get a gift. When you combine this hard external experience with this higher purpose, things are going to help you in order to move forward. I love it. The inside degrees for 25 Cancer. Sorry, I switch back and forth, but I do try to combine them with my intuition. The inside degrees for 25 Cancer says you're bearing gifts of a high and free kind, and you're attempting to bring it through in just the right way. So it's like all these things that you went through that were not good or didn't feel good are actually bringing gifts to you. And now is the time when we're trying to figure out, how do I get the gifts? How do I get the fruit from the tree? Even if the tree feels dead, even if the tree feels empty, how do I get the fruit from the tree? Or maybe it's not the fruit from the tree that you needed, but it's the fruit next to the tree from another tree. Then you wouldn't have gotten to this tree if you weren't, next to this one. So there's a whole thing that's starting to come around where we're starting to bring forth the meaning of this hardship so that we can move forward in better ways now that we've learned what we needed to learn. How would we know what maybe really sets our soul on fire, what our heart really wants, what really gives us meaning if we hadn't gone through the hardship, Or how would we know how to treat the things that we do want if we didn't know what it feels like to not be treated well or to not have the things that we want? So I think there's a lot of lessons that we're going to start to learn in this next 6 months about why all of that happened and what it means, and about how we can finally navigate all these hardships with way more grace, with way more ease, with way more steadfastness, with way more confidence than we had before to move them forward. A lot of people think of Cancer as being emotional and being flighty and being unpredictable. You can't, I'm in a lot of groups on Facebook with astrology groups. They're like, oh, you can't depend on a Cancer. They'll snap on you in a second. And it's like, do you really know that many Cancers? Especially these last inside degrees and Sabian symbols, the last degrees of Cancer, the last degrees of any sign are the more mature, more higher expressions of the sign. And the last degrees of Cancer from the inside degrees and the Sabian symbols are all about timeless, vast, expansive, unlimited, faithful, steadfast, future thinking. Who would have thought that? Cancer, especially maybe the beginning degrees are nostalgic, but the end degrees are very, very future thinking. It's all about preparation and ripening to be perfectly ready when called upon. A lot of these things are about ripening to be what's, we've been working hard, we've been toiling, and all of a sudden the hard work, the things that have been frustrated are going to lead to beautiful, not only gifts, but fresh fruit. They're going to ripe, and we're going to be able to step into these things with more ease because we're starting to understand what was really going on and why. And we're going to have another part of this, a subtle support system starts to be drawn to you. You start to learn how to support yourself and the people that you need, and the things that you need that weren't there for you as you make these choices to turn away from the past are going to start to find you. And you're going to start to step into, personify your future, personify what you want, personify what you need. And realize you already have these things, and you're going to do it in a way that is another part of Cancer, outwardly silent, poised, and cool. All these things are going to start to happen and turn around, Yeah, maybe that's what I'll say. Cancer is not always super reactive and nostalgic, and there can be a real sense of calmness and understanding that Cancer has about why life works, about the human experience, about what it means to actually feel, to actually be human, to actually live life and to love life. And I think that's what we're really starting to get to the bottom of here. Yeah. Telling you, if there's anything that's been very, very hard for you for the past while, the past long time with this Capricorn influence, I feel like it's going to start to break, and it's going to start to separate, and it's going to start to get easier, and you're going to start to understand why, especially if you've been sticking it out the best that you can. And from this point onward, life's no longer going to be about duty. It's no longer going to be about obligation. Well, I have to do this. This person said that I don't want to do this, but I need to, or else, you know, I'm not going to be able to survive, and I'm not going to be able. It's no longer about surviving. It's about, I said in another video on my website, thriving. It's about thriving. That's what we're here to do. And this is when things are going to start to turn around. Anything in your life that does not have meaning is either going to fall by the wayside and leave your life, or it's going to change, totally change and transform in a very permanent and positive way, so that it can open up space for meaning and heart to come to flourish and to work and weave its way through in a more peaceful, easy way. Okay, your card is the Star. Yeah, oh, this has personal meaning to me, this card. This to me is a lucky card, the Star, about being in the right place at the right time. You're going to start to feel like you are in the right place at the right time, like you're where you need to be. When I think of this Star card, I think of, like, you know, nights spent looking up at the night sky. I love looking up at the stars, like when I'm camping or when I'm out late at night, because I just feel like, maybe it's because I like astrology, but I just feel like when I'm out camping at night under the stars, I'm in the right place at the right time. Because you start to see, and I think this is a big part of the reason why I like astrology, you start to realize that there's a bigger purpose to your life than what you can see. You start to realize that that life in the world is so much bigger than you, and that you are a small part in this big world, and that everything starts to work together for your good. So I love this Star card of really saying, you're going to find that all of a sudden, after a really, really hard time, you're going to start to find you're in the right place at the right time. And you're going to start to see how everything is interconnected, and how everything worked together from the past to get you to a better spot, to where you need to go and to help you now. I also like this card too because it reminds me of the North Star. We're going to start to find our North Star, our north. We're going to start to get our compass back, our emotional, our internal compass, to help direct and guide us forward in more positive ways. If you feel like your emotions and your intuition has been out of whack the past few years, it's going to start to come back. Also with this card too, because I do think of this as a very Aquarius card, even though we don't really have anything going on in Aquarius, but this to me also does have a lot to do with, like, the higher mind, and yeah, kicking on the higher mind, understanding what's going on in your life, and really being able to use your emotions and to harness your emotions for good, to be at peace with your life and your surroundings. Love this card so much. Man, the card on the bottom of the deck, oh, this is interesting, is the Magician reversed. Maybe that's what's been going on. We haven't really known how to bring everything together for so long. You know, maybe we've been so baffled, so confused, so frustrated. I'm trying to change my life, especially since April of this year. I'm trying to make a big change. I'm trying to make my life be different. I'm trying to make my life be better. How do I do it? Why isn't it happening? You know, I don't know how to bring everything from the past together to get me to where I want to be. And I think what I feel is that at this full moon lunar eclipse, you're just gonna know. If you didn't know how to change your life before, if you didn't know where you wanted your life to go, if you didn't know why things were budging, if you didn't know how to break through these old things from the past that never would budge, all of a sudden you're just gonna know. You're just gonna know. Your intuition is gonna guide you to tell you what it is that you need next. Your emotions, especially with the Sun, Venus, and Neptune, and Cancer, and in conjunct the North Node in Cancer, you're going to start to know. Your intuition and your emotions are going to start to tell you, move this here, do this, do that, and it's going to help you start to rearrange everything that you need in accordance with your highest purpose. And I think what I want to say to you all today is to just really, and to not be afraid to face down the hard things in your life so that you can move through them. And you don't even need to fight to move through them. You just need to accept and release and be open to what is to come, because I think it's gonna start to happen on its own, to be honest. And this is the moment when you're gonna start to hear your soul speak again, come back to life. Especially if you're not afraid to make the choices, the changes, and the decisions you need to no longer tolerate those things that are not working and are not meaningful for you anymore, and align and set yourself up with the things that are. So that is your forecast for the full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, and I will talk to you later.